We tried showing you we were peaceful. You saw weakness. So now the Council laughed at humanity, then watched our polite mode. Turn off. Captain Yunajang stood on the bridge of the Quiet Fury and watched the planet below. It was called Vrakkor, and it was the primary military training world of the Vrakesh Empire. Thousands of young Vrakesh soldiers learned their craft on this planet, preparing for the day they would join the Empire's fleets. The ceasefire had been in effect for 12 hours. In that time, the Vrakesh had not returned any stolen human technology. They had not apologized for the deaths they had caused. They had not even acknowledged their actions. They had simply stopped shooting and waited to see what humanity would do next. Admiral Seonmi Kwan had decided to show them. All ships report ready status, announced the tactical officer. Good, Yuna replied. She was younger than most capital ship commanders, only 38, but she had trained for this her entire adult life. Open a channel to the surface, all frequencies. A moment later, her face appeared on every screen and display across Vrakkor, in the training facilities, in the command centers, in the living quarters, everywhere. This is Captain Yunajang of the human dreadnought Quiet Fury, she began, her voice calm and clear. I am addressing all Vrakesh military personnel currently on this world. On the surface, Vrakesh officers scrambled to their defense stations. Orbital weapons began powering up. Fighter craft launched from underground hangars. But it was already too late. The Quiet Fury was not alone. 30 human warships surrounded the planet, each one in perfect position to strike. Your leaders chose to attack humanity, Yuna continued. They killed our people. They destroyed our stations. They laughed at our pain. This was their choice, not yours. Therefore, I am giving you a choice now. She paused, letting the tension build. You have 24 hours to evacuate all military training facilities. Move your students, your instructors, your staff to the civilian cities. After that time period ends, every military structure on this planet will be destroyed. Completely. Utterly. Nothing will remain. Chaos erupted in the Vrakesh command centers. Destroy an entire planet's military infrastructure? Impossible. They had defenses. They had weapons. They could fight back. Before you decide to resist, Yuna said, as if reading their thoughts, understand what you are facing. Each ship in my fleet carries weapons capable of glassing an entire continent. We have already locked targeting solutions on every military installation on your world. We know where your command bunkers are. We know where your weapons storage is. We know where your training grounds are located. We know because we have been watching you for years. The display behind her lit up with a map of Vrakkor. Red dots marked every military facility on the planet. Hundreds of them, all precisely identified. Civilian areas are marked in blue. Notice that we have no targeting solutions on any civilian structure. Not one. This is not a genocide. This is not even a war crime. This is a precise military action against legitimate military targets. She leaned forward, her expression hardening. But make no mistake. If you choose to keep your people in those facilities, if you choose to use them as shields, then they will die. Every single one. We will not be deterred. We will not be stopped. You have 24 hours. After that, everything in red on this map becomes dust. The transmission ended. On Vrakkor, the Vrakesh military leadership faced an impossible situation. If they evacuated, they would lose decades of infrastructure. If they stayed, they would lose thousands of lives. Either way, they lost. They chose to evacuate. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other human operations were underway. Colonel Taejin Ryu and his special forces had a different mission. The Quilnar Hive had returned the human prisoners they held, but they had not returned the bodies of those who died during their experiments. That was unacceptable. Teams in position, Taejin whispered into his communicator. They were inside a Quilnar research facility, the same one where human captives had been tortured in the name of science. Beginning sweep. His soldiers moved through the facility like ghosts. The Quilnar guards never saw them coming. One moment the corridor was empty. The next, a guard was unconscious on the floor. No shots fired. No alarms triggered. Pure stealth. Located the medical bay, reported one team leader. Sir, you need to see this. Taejin entered the medical bay and felt his stomach turn. Tanks filled with green fluid lined the walls, and inside each tank was a body. Human bodies. People who had been experimented on, studied, dissected. People who had families waiting for them back home. Tag them all, he ordered, his voice tight with controlled rage. We take everyone home. Every single person. Behind him, Specialist Minho Kang was planting charges throughout the facility. Not bombs meant to kill, but devices designed to destroy equipment and data. Charges set, Minho reported. This facility will never operate again. Good. Taejin watched as his soldiers carefully removed the bodies from the tanks, treating each one with respect despite the circumstances. Extraction in 5 minutes move. They were gone before the Quilnar even realized they had been there. The facility's power systems failed 10 minutes after the extraction, and by the time Quilnar engineers arrived to investigate, all the research data had been wiped. Years of work gone, and most importantly, every human who had died there was now going home. Back at Vrakkor, the 24-hour deadline approached. The Vrakesh had evacuated their people, moving thousands of soldiers and staff into the civilian cities. They watched from there as the human fleet maintained position overhead. Some Vrakesh thought it was a bluff. Humans were too soft, too moral to actually follow through with such destruction. They were wrong. At exactly 24 hours and 3 minutes after Yuna's deadline, the Quiet Fury fired its first weapon. A particle beam lanced down from orbit, striking a military academy on the southern continent. The building exploded instantly, vaporized by temperatures hot enough to melt steel. Then another beam fell, and another. The human fleet worked with mechanical precision. Each target was struck once, completely destroyed, and then they moved to the next target. No wasted shots. No collateral damage. Every strike was perfect. The Vrakesh watched from the cities as their military infrastructure burned. Training grounds became craters. Weapons depots exploded in chains of fire. Command bunkers were torn open and melted. And not a single civilian building was touched. The human ships knew exactly where everything was, and they hit only what they intended to hit. It took 6 hours to complete the operation. When it was done, Vrakkor's military capabilities had been reduced to 0. The planet was defenseless, completely at humanity's mercy. But the human fleet did not attack the cities. They did not harm civilians. They had done exactly what they promised, nothing more and nothing less. "This is Captain Yuna Jang," she broadcast to the planet below. "Your military installations are destroyed. Your weapons are gone. Your training facilities no longer exist. But your people live. Your cities stand. Your civilization continues. Remember this moment. Remember that humanity could have killed everyone on this world but chose not to. Remember that we showed you more mercy than you showed us." The Quiet Fury and its escort fleet departed from Vrakkor orbit, leaving the planet shocked and humbled. Word of what happened spread quickly through the galaxy. Humanity had demonstrated power that terrified everyone, but also restraint that confused them. They could have committed genocide. Instead, they had conducted a surgical strike that achieved military objectives without unnecessary death. On Earth, Admiral Seonmi Kwan reviewed the reports from multiple operations. Vrakkor neutralized, human bodies recovered from Quilnar facilities, Vrakesh supply lines disrupted across 6 sectors. All objectives achieved with minimal friendly casualties. The Council has called another emergency session, her aide informed her. They are ready to vote on humanity's full membership. And the charter reforms? Those too. Ambassador Park's proposals are being taken seriously now. Seonmi nodded. Of course they are. It is amazing how seriously people take you once you prove you can break them. Do you think we went too far, Admiral? No. Her answer was immediate and certain. We went exactly as far as necessary. The Vrakesh needed to understand that attacking humanity has consequences. The Council needed to understand that we are not victims waiting to happen. The galaxy needed to see what we are capable of both in war and in mercy. And now we see if they learned the lesson. In the Council chamber, representatives gathered once again. The atmosphere was completely different from the first time humanity had presented their case. No one was laughing now. No one was dismissive. They looked at Captain Jinho Park and Dr. Mireille Kim with respect, and underneath that respect, fear. Elder Vornis called the session to order. The Council will now vote on the question of humanity's full membership status. All in favor? 46 hands rose. Only one abstained. The Vrakesh representative, a new diplomat who had replaced the disgraced High Commander Thelvax. The motion passes, Vornis announced. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities therein. There was no applause, just solemn acknowledgement. This was not a celebration. This was an acceptance of reality. The second matter, Vornis continued. Ambassa? The council laughed at humanity, then watched our polite mode turn off. The council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 47 species were all trying to speak at once, their voices creating a wall of noise that made communication impossible. Elder Vornis struck his staff against the floor 3 times and the sound rang out like a bell, cutting through the disorder. Order, he commanded. We will have order or this session is ended. The noise died down slowly. High Commander Thelvax stood at the Vrikesh position, and for the first time since anyone could remember, he did not look confident. His scales, normally a deep red, had paled to almost pink. The council must declare humanity in violation of our laws, he demanded. They have hidden military forces. They have deceived us all, have they? Elder Vornis asked calmly. Or did we simply fail to ask the right questions? They pretended to be peaceful. They were peaceful. They did not attack anyone until attacked first. That is not pretense, that is restraint. Captain Jinho Park entered the chamber at that moment and the entire room fell silent. He was not alone this time. Dr. Mireille Kim walked beside him and behind them came a younger woman carrying several data storage devices. The woman was Hyejin Baek, a xenoarchaeologist who specialized in first contact protocols. Jinho wore his full military dress uniform today, not the simple diplomatic clothes he had worn before. The difference was stark. Where before he had looked like a peaceful envoy, now he looked like what he truly was, a warrior who had chosen to speak instead of fight. The council called for this emergency session, Jinho said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. We are here to answer your questions. You lied to us, shouted the Quilnar representative, its mandibles clicking angrily. You hid your true strength. We did not lie, Mireille responded, her tone sharp. Lying requires false statements. We made no false statements. We simply did not volunteer information you never asked for. Hyejin stepped forward and activated a holographic display. Data began flowing across the air, visible to everyone in the chamber. These are the ship registration records for every human vessel, she explained. All filed properly with council bureaucracy, exactly as required by law. Notice the technical specifications here, and here, and here. The data showed power output ratings, hull construction details, and system capabilities. The numbers were all there, plain to see. They had always been there. The steady hand, for example, Hyejin continued, highlighting one particular file, registered as a patrol frigate with defensive capabilities. Power output rated at military grade. Hull composition includes combat-resistant alloys. Weapon mounts documented as present but listed as defensive systems. Every detail is in this file, filed 6 years ago and updated annually. But we scanned that vessel, protested another council member. It appeared to be a simple cargo hauler. It did, Jinho agreed, because we designed it to appear that way. But the true specifications were always in the official records. You just never looked. Hyejin brought up more files, hundreds of them. Each one showed a human ship or station, each one with its true capabilities documented and properly registered. The information had been available to anyone who bothered to check. The council had simply assumed they knew what humans were, and never verified their assumptions. We have been filing these reports for 50 years, Mireille said. Every ship, every station, every weapon system, all properly documented according to council law. If you believed we were weak, it was because you chose to believe it without checking the facts. The chamber erupted in angry voices again, but this time the anger was mixed with confusion and fear. They had been wrong, badly wrong, and some species were beginning to realize what that meant for the future. Elder Vornis raised his staff again. Enough, Captain Park, the council requires an explanation. Not of your legal compliance, but of your nature. We thought we understood humanity. Clearly we did not, Jinho nodded. He had been waiting for this question. Humanity evolved on a planet we call Earth. By council standards, Earth is what you call a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators, toxic plants, deadly diseases. Almost everything on our world tried to kill us. He paused, letting that sink in. Most species in the council came from gentler worlds. They had evolved in easier circumstances. We survived by becoming better predators than anything else on our planet. We developed tools. We learned to work together. We fought and killed and adapted. For millions of years, we climbed to the top of our world's food chain. The holographic display changed, showing images of Earth's history. Ancient humans hunting massive animals, tribes at war, empires rising and falling. We were very good at violence, too good. About 10,000 years ago, we developed civilization, and that made us even more dangerous. We created weapons that could kill hundreds at once, then thousands, then millions. The images showed battles from human history, swords and spears, cannons and guns, bombs and missiles. 200 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves. We had weapons that could end all life on Earth, and we came close to using them. Entire cities burned. Millions died. Our world was on the edge of complete destruction. The chamber was completely silent now. Every species watched the images with growing horror. This was the history of the peaceful humans? This was the species that had smiled and bowed for 50 years? But we chose to stop, Jinho continued, his voice softer now. We looked at what we had become and we decided to be better. It took decades. Many people did not believe it was possible, but we rebuilt our world. We created peace. We reached for the stars. When we met the council, we made a promise to ourselves. We would show the galaxy that humans had evolved beyond violence. And we kept that promise for 50 years, Mirai added. Every insult, every dismissal, every laugh at our expense, we accepted it all with grace because we were trying to prove we had changed. Until we attacked your people, said Elder Vornis quietly. It was not a question. Yes, Jinho confirmed. There is a difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. We chose peace. We hoped the galaxy would respect that choice. Instead, you saw it as weakness. You killed our people and took our ships and expected us to simply accept it. General Junho An's voice came through the communication system, broadcasting from one of the human military vessels. We are now sending additional data to the council, he announced. Training footage from our military academies. We believe you should understand what you are dealing with. The holographic display changed again. This time it showed human soldiers training. But these were not simulations or practice exercises. These were live combat drills conducted in conditions that would kill most council species. Humans running obstacle courses in high gravity. Humans fighting hand-to-hand with a brutality that seemed impossible. Humans swimming through water that was near freezing. Humans enduring pain that should have made them collapse. And all of this was just basic training. Every human soldier went through this. Every single one. Our soldiers train in conditions designed to push them to their absolute limits, Junho explained. Because our world pushed us to those limits for millions of years. We can survive in temperatures that would freeze most species or heat that would cook them. We can heal from injuries that would be fatal to others. We can go days without food or water. We do not give up. Ever. The footage showed soldiers continuing to fight even when injured, even when exhausted, even when any rational being would surrender. They just kept going. It was terrifying. This is what evolution on a death world creates, Mirai said. Species that refuse to die. Species that see every problem as something to overcome. Species that will sacrifice anything to protect their own. And yet, Jinho said, his voice taking on a harder edge, for 50 years we put all of this aside. We smiled, we negotiated. We followed every rule you set for us. We proved that we could be peaceful. And you thanked us by treating us like prey. He stepped closer to the center of the chamber, and several representatives visibly flinched back. Let me be very clear about something. What you have seen in the past week is humanity being gentle. We have destroyed only military targets. We have killed only those who killed us first. We have followed every rule of proportional response outlined in the Council Charter. By our standards, we have been incredibly restrained. You call this restraint? Thelvax snarled. You have destroyed 60 of our warships. Yes, Jinho replied coldly. 60. You know how many warships humans could field if we wanted to? If we converted all our disguised vessels to full military configuration? Over 3,000, and that is just the ships currently in space. We have shipyards that could build more, many more. The number struck the chamber like a physical blow. 3,000 warships. The Vrakesh Empire, one of the strongest military forces in the Council, had maybe 5,000. And they had been building their fleet for centuries. Humans had been in space for 50 years, but we do not want war, Mirai said firmly. We never wanted war. We want what we have always wanted, to be treated as equals, to be respected, to be allowed to exist in peace. Then why reveal all this? asked another council member. Why show us your true capabilities? Because peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered, Jinho answered. And our ships in the contested sectors? All reporting. The council laughed at humanity, then watched our polite mode turn off. The Vrakesh patrol squadron had been hunting human vessels for weeks, and today they had found another target. 6 Vrakesh warships surrounded what their sensors identified as a simple human cargo hauler, the kind that transported supplies between colonies. The ship was called the Steady Hand, and according to their databases, it had no weapons worth mentioning. This one will be easy, the squadron commander hissed to his crew. Destroy it quickly so we can continue our patrol. Inside the Steady Hand, Commander Daehyun Song watched the Vrakesh ships move into attack formation. His crew sat at their stations calm and ready. They had trained for this moment for years. All stations report, he ordered quietly. Weapons hot and ready. Sir. Shields at full power. Targeting solutions locked for all 6 vessels. Electronic warfare systems standing by. Daehyun smiled. The Vrakesh had no idea what they were facing. The Steady Hand looked like a cargo ship because that was what it had been designed to look like. But underneath the false hull panels and fake cargo containers was something very different. Weapons free, he ordered. End this quickly. The transformation took 3 seconds. Panels slid away, revealing weapon ports that should not exist on a cargo vessel. The ship's engines, which had been running at minimal power, suddenly flared to full military thrust. What had appeared to be a slow, helpless cargo hauler was now moving like a fighter craft. The first Vrakesh ship died before its commander could even react. A particle beam, the kind that required massive power generators that should not fit in a ship this size, punched through its shields and tore through its hull. The ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Target 2, Daehyun said calmly. The Steady Hand spun on its axis, a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship of its size, and fired again. Another Vrakesh warship died. Then another. The Vrakesh squadron tried to return fire, but the human ship was too fast, too agile. It moved through space like it was dancing, always staying 1 step ahead of their weapons. This is impossible, the Vrakesh squadron commander roared. That ship cannot have those capabilities. But it did. And 3 minutes after the battle started, all 6 Vrakesh warships were gone. Nothing remained but expanding clouds of debris and frozen atmosphere. Commander Daehyun Song checked his sensors. No survivors. No escape pods. The Vrakesh did not believe in escape pods. They fought to the death, which made them dangerous but also predictable. Log the engagement, he ordered. Continue to the next patrol sector. Similar battles were happening across 6 different sectors of space. Human ships that everyone thought were explorers or traders suddenly revealed themselves to be warships. Research stations that the Vrakesh had planned to destroy activated military-grade shields and defense systems that tore attacking vessels apart. In one sector, a Vrakesh heavy cruiser encountered what it thought were 3 human transport ships. The cruiser opened fire, expecting easy kills. Instead, the transports dropped their disguises and revealed themselves to be destroyers. The Vrakesh cruiser was destroyed in under 5 minutes. In another sector, a Vrakesh battle group of 12 ships tried to overwhelm a single human vessel. The human ship used tactics the Vrakesh had never seen before, drawing them into a trap where hidden human ships appeared from asteroid fields and debris clouds. The entire Vrakesh battle group was destroyed with no human losses. The Quilnar hive was experiencing similar problems. The stations where they held human prisoners came under attack, but not from human ships. The attacks came from inside. Special Forces teams led by Colonel Taejin Ryu had infiltrated the stations weeks ago, hiding among the regular prisoners, waiting for the signal. When the signal came, they moved like shadows. The Quilnar guards died before they knew they were under attack. Human soldiers moved through the stations with precision that came from endless training and careful planning. They knew every corridor, every room, every guard post. Sector 7 clear, Taejin whispered into his communication device. All prisoners located and secured. Acknowledged, came the reply. Extraction ships inbound. 2 minutes. Taejin and his team herded the freed prisoners toward the docking bay. Many were injured from the Quilnar experiments, but they were alive. That was what mattered. Move quickly and stay quiet, he told them. We are getting everyone out. Behind them, the station's power systems began to fail. Not by accident. Human combat engineers, specialists like Minho Kang, had planted devices throughout the station's infrastructure. The Quilnar would survive, but their station would be crippled for months. Another message: do not take what is ours. The extraction was completed in 6 minutes. Every human prisoner was recovered. The Special Forces teams vanished as quietly as they had arrived, leaving the Quilnar to wonder how their security had been breached so completely. On Earth, in the military command center buried deep beneath Geneva, Admiral Seonmi Kwan watched reports flowing in from across human-controlled space. Her staff worked efficiently around her, coordinating the largest military operation humanity had conducted since the end of the last war 200 years ago. Admiral, all objectives in the first phase have been achieved, reported her aide. Enemy losses are significant. Our losses are minimal. Minimal is still too much, Seonmi replied. Every life matters. What are the exact numbers? 17 wounded, none critical. No deaths? Seonmi allowed herself a small smile. The planning had worked. 50 years of preparation, of hiding humanity's true capabilities, of appearing weak while building strength. Phase 2? Ready to begin on your order. Not yet. Let them process what just happened. Let the news spread through the Council. They need to understand that this was not luck. Across the galaxy, the Council was indeed processing what had happened. Initial reports had seemed impossible. Human ships defeating Vrakesh squadrons? It had to be a mistake. But as more reports came in, the truth became undeniable. High Commander Thelvax stood in his command center, staring at casualty reports that should not exist. In 48 hours, the Vrakesh Empire had lost over 60 warships. 60 to humans. To the species everyone had laughed at just months ago. How is this possible? He roared. Where did they get these ships? These weapons? His intelligence officer, a younger Vrakesh named Krone, brought up data files on the main screen. Sir, we have been analyzing the wreckage we could recover. These weapons, these systems, they are not new. Some of them show years of use. The humans had them all along. That is impossible. We scanned their vessels. We saw exploration ships and cargo haulers. That is what they wanted us to see, sir. But look at this. Krone pulled up a schematic. This is the cargo hauler that destroyed Squadron 12. We recovered some hull fragments. Underneath the outer plating, there are signs of modifications that must be years old. They built false hulls around warships. They hid their weapons behind panels. They made everything look peaceful when it was not. Thelvax felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. They have been lying to us from the beginning. Not lying, sir. Just not telling us everything. We never asked. We assumed. Back on Earth, Intelligence Officer Narration was preparing a broadcast. She was young, only 32, but she had been working in human intelligence since she was 18. She knew secrets that most of humanity did not know. Now she was going to share some of those secrets with the entire galaxy. Are you ready? Asked the technician. Yes, Nari replied. She sat down in front of the camera. Behind her was a display showing Earth's history, images of war and destruction and survival. Begin transmission. The broadcast went out on all Council frequencies. Every species, every world, every ship received it. Nari's face appeared on their screens and she began to speak. My name is Nari Shin and I am a representative of humanity. Over the past 48 hours, you have witnessed human military forces in action. Many of you are confused. Many of you are frightened. Some of you are angry. All of you are wondering the same thing. Where did these capabilities come from? She paused, letting the question hang in the air. The answer is simple. They came from Earth, from our history, from what we are. The display behind her began showing images, ancient human warriors, medieval battles, world wars, nuclear explosions. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us constantly. Everything on our planet was a predator or prey. We became the ultimate predators. For thousands of years, we perfected the art of killing. We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities. We created strategies and tactics that could defeat any enemy. We were very, very good at war. More images appeared. Cities in ruins, graves by the millions, children starving. We were so good at war that we nearly destroyed ourselves. Multiple times, we had weapons that could end all life on our world, and we came very close to using them. But we chose not to. We chose to be better. The images changed to show humanity rebuilding, peace treaties, space exploration, first contact with alien life. When we met the Galactic Council 50 years ago, we made a decision. We would be peaceful. We would be diplomatic. We would show the galaxy that humans had evolved beyond our violent past. And we did. For 50 years, we followed every rule. We respected every custom. We smiled when the Council laughed at humanity, then watched our polite mode turn off. 3 months had passed since the Council's decision, and the Vrakesh Empire wasted no time claiming what they believed was rightfully theirs. Their ships moved through the outer reach sectors like a swarm of metal locusts, taking whatever they wanted and destroying anything that stood in their way. Commander Daehyun Song watched the debris field floating past his viewport. What had been Research Station Zebra 7 was now just twisted metal and frozen atmosphere. 43 humans had worked there, studying unusual energy patterns in the local star system. Now there was nothing left but wreckage. Any survivors? He asked quietly. Negative, sir, replied his sensor officer. The Vrakesh hit them with everything. No warning, no chance to evacuate. They just erased them. Daehyun's jaw tightened. His ship, the Steady Hand, looked like a simple patrol vessel on the outside. Most species would scan it and see nothing threatening. Just another human ship going about its peaceful business. That was exactly what they were supposed to see. Mark the coordinates, he ordered. We will come back for them. Every piece, every person, we bring them all home. This was the 5th human installation destroyed in the past month. The Vrakesh were not just expanding, they were sending a message. Stay out of our way or be crushed. And it was not just the Vrakesh anymore. The Quilnar Hive, seeing that the Council permitted such actions, had grown bold as well. Ambassador Yoonji Lee stood in the Quilnar diplomatic chamber, her hands clasped in front of her to keep them from shaking with anger. The Hive Queen's representative, a large insect creature with too many eyes, regarded her with what might have been amusement. You protest the detention of your vessels, the Quilnar buzzed. But they entered our space without proper authorization. They were trade ships following established routes that have been used for 20 years, Yoonji replied, her voice carefully controlled. Routes that your government approved and registered with the Council. Circumstances change. The ships and their crews are now being held for study. Your species is fascinating to us. We wish to understand human biology better. Yoonji felt ice run down her spine. Study. They were taking humans for experiments. The crew members are sentient beings protected under Council law. You cannot simply take them, can we not? The Council has shown that strength determines rights. The Vrakesh take what they want. Why should the Quilnar not do the same? When Yoonji sent her urgent messages back to Earth and to Captain Park, she included the phrase, specimens for study in her report. She knew what that meant. She had read the historical files about what humans did to each other in the name of science before they learned better. The idea of other species doing that to her people made her stomach turn. The Council convened another session 2 weeks later. This time the chamber felt different to Captain Jinho Park as he entered. The laughter from 3 months ago had been replaced by a kind of smug satisfaction. The strong had reminded the weak of their place. Order had been maintained. The human delegation wishes to address the Council, announced Elder Vornis. Jinho walked to the center speaking position. Dr. Mirai Kim and Hyunwoo Choi flanked him, both in formal uniform. Humanity formally registers a grievance against the Vrakesh Empire and the Quilnar Hive, Jinho stated. In the past 3 months, 5 human research stations have been destroyed with all hands lost. 14 human vessels have been attacked, resulting in 207 deaths. 7 ships have been captured by the Quilnar with 132 crew members taken prisoner. These sectors now belong to the Vrakesh, High Commander Thelvax interrupted. Your stations were trespassing. The stations were established years before any territorial claim was filed, Mirai countered. They were protected under existing Council law regarding prior occupation. Laws that no longer apply since the Council voted to grant us those sectors, Thelvax replied. He seemed bored, as if this conversation was beneath him. If your people died, it is because they refused to leave when told to do so. They were never told to leave, Jinho said, his voice dropping lower. They were simply destroyed. No warning, no communication, no mercy. Mercy? Thelvax stood, his massive form towering over the chamber. You speak of mercy? You are barely a spacefaring species. You have provisional status, which means you exist here because we allow it. If some of your kind died while we claimed what is ours, that is regrettable but irrelevant. The Quilnar representative made its chittering sound. As for the vessels we hold, they are being treated well. We are merely studying them. They will be returned when our research is complete. How long will that take? Jinho asked. As long as necessary. And the crew members who have already died during your experiments? Silence fell across the chamber. The Quilnar had not expected humans to know about that. Accidents happen in any scientific study. It finally buzzed. Jinho's hands clenched behind his back. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to leap across the chamber and tear the creature apart. But he was a diplomat. He was here to follow protocol. Humanity requests immediate cessation of all hostile actions against our people and installations. We request the return of all captured personnel within 72 hours. We request full council arbitration of territorial disputes as outlined in the charter. Denied, Thelvac said immediately. The council has already voted. There is nothing left to arbitrate. Then we request council intervention to stop attacks on human civilians. Also denied, said another council member, a species that looked like living stone. The Vrakesh are operating within their newly granted territory. If your people are still there, they accept the risk. Jinho turned slowly, looking at each council member in turn. Most would not meet his eyes. A few looked back with pity. None looked like they would help. I see, he said quietly. So the council will not act to protect human lives. The council has already acted, Thelvac said with satisfaction. We voted on the territorial matter. What happens after is not our concern. And if we defend ourselves, Jinho asked. If we take action to protect our people and our installations? Thelvac laughed and many others joined him. Take action? With what, Captain Park? Your exploration ships? Your trade vessels? Please do enlighten us. What will your provisional membership do against the Vrakesh Empire? Jinho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. It was still polite, still diplomatic, but there was something underneath it now. Something cold and dangerous. Article 7 of the Council Charter grants all member species, including provisional members, the right to self-defense when attacked. We have been attacked. Our people have been killed. Our vessels have been captured. By the laws of this council, we have the right to respond. Respond? Thelvac leaned forward. Are you threatening the Vrakesh Empire, little human? No, Jinho replied. I am informing you. Humanity formally declares that any further attacks on our people or installations will be met with appropriate defensive measures. This is not a threat. This is a legal notification under council law. The laughter that followed was even louder than before. The idea of humanity threatening the Vrakesh was absurd. The idea that humans could defend themselves against any major council power was ridiculous. They were too new, too weak, too soft. Jinho did not laugh. He simply stood there waiting for the noise to die down. When it finally did, he gave a small bow. You have been warned, he said simply. He turned and walked toward the exit. Mirai and Hyunwoo followed. As they passed Elder Vornis, the ancient being spoke in a voice so quiet that only they could hear. Be careful, humans. You are about to do something that cannot be undone. It is already done, Jinho replied without stopping. They boarded the morning calm and departed from the council station. The moment they cleared the communication field, Dr. Mirai Kim pulled out her datapad. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, typing a message that had been prepared weeks ago. Just waiting for this moment. The message was simple, just 3 words. But those 3 words would change everything. Polite mode. Disengaged. The message transmitted to every human vessel in space, every human colony on distant worlds, every human station floating in the darkness. It reached Admiral Seonmi Kwan on Earth, who immediately ordered the activation of protocols that had been waiting in standby mode for 50 years. It reached Colonel Taejin Ryu, who gathered his special forces and began reviewing target lists. It reached Commander Daehyun Song aboard the Steady Hand, who ordered his crew to battle stations. In the outer reach sectors, Vrakesh patrol ships continued their routes, unaware that everything had just changed. In Quilnar space, the ships holding human prisoners maintained their normal operations, not knowing that death was coming for them. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. The galaxy had mocked their weakness. The galaxy had killed their people and taken their ships and expected them to simply accept it. The galaxy was about to learn why that was a mistake. Jinho Park stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars stream past as they accelerated away from the council station. "How long until Earth receives the message?" he asked. "Already confirmed received, sir," replied the communications officer. "Admiral Kwan has acknowledged and is implementing Operation Revelation." The council laughed at humanity, then watched our polite mode turn off. The crystal chamber floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly around the planet called Axis Prime. Inside, 47 different species sat in their designated seats, each more strange than the last. Some had scales, some had fur, some had nothing but glowing energy fields where their bodies should be. They had gathered for their annual meeting, just as they had done for the past 1,000 years. Captain Jin-Ho Park stood at the center of the chamber. His dark blue uniform was perfectly pressed and his face showed no emotion. Behind him stood Dr. Mirai Kim, a woman with sharp eyes who missed nothing, and Hyunwoo Choi, a younger man whose relaxed posture hid years of military training. They were humanity's representatives here to ask for something simple. "We request permission to establish colonies in the outer reach sectors," Jin-Ho said clearly. His voice carried through the chamber without any amplification. "Our scans show the region is uninhabited. We would bring no conflict to any existing claims." The chamber erupted in noise. Some species chittered, some roared, some made sounds that human ears could barely process. But one sound rose above all others: laughter. High Commander Thelvax of the Vrakesh Empire stood from his seat. He was massive, easily 3 meters tall, covered in dark red scales that looked like armor. His yellow eyes fixed on Jin-Ho with something close to amusement. "The humans want to expand," he said, his voice like grinding stone. "How delightful. Tell me, Captain Park, how exactly do you plan to defend these colonies? With your exploration ships? With your trade vessels?" More laughter rippled through the chamber. The Quilnar Hive representative, an insect-like creature with multiple arms, clicked its mandibles in what might have been their version of a chuckle. "Humans are barely 50 years into space travel," it buzzed. "They play at diplomacy but have no real strength. Perhaps they should focus on survival before expansion." Jin-Ho remained still. His hands stayed clasped behind his back. "We have prepared detailed reports on our capabilities and our plans for peaceful development. The sector in question has significant resources but no current inhabitants. Our presence would benefit council trade routes." "Benefit?" Thelvax's laugh was like rocks falling. "The only benefit would be to us when we claim those sectors for the Vrakesh Empire. You see, little human, we have also had our eyes on that region. The difference is that we have the power to take it." Several other species nodded their agreement. The Vrakesh Empire was one of the strongest military forces in the council. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. Their soldiers were bred for war, and their reputation for crushing anyone who stood against them was well known. If they wanted something, they usually got it. "The matter should be put to a vote," Dr. Mirai Kim said from behind Jin-Ho. Her voice was calm but firm, as is council protocol for disputed territorial claims. "Of course, you," said Elder Vornis, one of the few species that had not laughed. He was ancient, his gray skin covered in patterns that spoke of centuries of life. "We shall vote. All in favor of granting humanity's request?" 3 hands rose. 3 out of 47. "All in favor of granting the outer reach sectors to the Vrakesh Empire?" 39 hands rose. The rest abstained. Thelvax smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Democracy is beautiful, is it not? Perhaps this will teach you humans a valuable lesson about your place in our galaxy. You are here on provisional membership, tolerated because you have been peaceful and quiet. Keep being peaceful and quiet, and perhaps in another century we might consider your requests more seriously." The chamber filled with approving sounds. Most species saw this as natural. The strong took what they wanted. The weak accepted what they were given. This was how the galaxy had always worked. Jin-Ho Park took a slow breath. For just a moment something flickered in his eyes, something cold and dangerous, but then it was gone, replaced by his diplomatic mask. He bowed slightly, the way humans did when showing respect. "We understand," he said simply. "Humanity will respect the Council's wisdom." "Excellent," Thelvax said, already turning back to his seat. "Now shall we move on to more important matters?" As the human delegation walked toward the exit, Hyunwoo Choi leaned close to Jin-Ho. "Sir, we're really just accepting this?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," Jin-Ho replied. "For now." Dr. Mirai Kim's fingers moved quickly across her data pad, typing a message that would be sent the moment they left the Council's communication dampening field. Her face showed nothing, but anyone who knew her well would have recognized the set of her jaw. She was angry. Deeply, quietly angry. They reached their ship, a sleek vessel called the Morning Calm, and departed from the Council station. The moment they cleared the security zone, Mirai's message began transmitting to every human vessel, every human colony, every human station scattered across their small corner of space. In the privacy of the ship's conference room, Jinho finally allowed his diplomatic mask to drop. His face showed the anger he had been hiding, the frustration of being treated like children, the rage at being dismissed and mocked. "They think we're weak," Hyunwoo said, pacing back and forth. "They think we can't defend ourselves. They think we're prey," Mirai corrected. "They see us as resources to be used when convenient. The Vrakesh will take those sectors, strip them of everything valuable, and if we happen to be in the way, they will crush us without a second thought." Jinho nodded slowly. He walked to the window and stared out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, too far away to see but always present in his mind. Humanity's homeworld, where they had clawed their way up from the caves and the mud, where they had fought and killed and nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times over, where they had finally learned to be better. 50 years, he said quietly. For 50 years we have been polite. We have followed every rule, respected every custom, accepted every insult with a smile. We did this because we wanted to prove we had changed. We wanted to show the galaxy that humans could be peaceful. And they took it as weakness, Mirai finished. Yes. Jinho turned to face them both. "Contact Admiral Kwan on Earth. Use the secure channel. Tell her it is time to update our operational status." Hyunwoo's eyes widened slightly. "Sir, are you sure? Once we start this, there is no going back." "They have already started it," Jinho replied. "They just do not know it yet. The Vrakesh will move into those sectors within weeks. They will destroy our research stations, attack our ships, and if we protest, the Council will do nothing. We have seen this pattern before with other species. The Council protects the strong and ignores the weak. So we show them we are not weak," Mirai said. "No." Jinho's smile was cold. "We show them that we chose to appear weak. There is a difference. A very important difference." The message went out that night, encoded in ways that only human systems could decode. It reached Earth in hours, reached the furthest human colonies in days. Admiral Seonmi Kwan read it in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and immediately began issuing orders. Colonel Taejin Ryu gathered his special forces teams and started reviewing extraction protocols. Commander Daehyun Song, captain of what everyone believed was just a patrol frigate, began running his crew through combat drills they had not practiced in years. In the outer reach sectors, the Vrakesh Empire began their expansion just as predicted. They sent warships and mining vessels ready to claim what the Council had given them. They expected no resistance. After all, the humans had bowed and accepted the Council's decision, like good little provisional members. What they did not expect was that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they first met the Galactic Council. What they did not understand was that humans had learned a very specific skill over their violent history: how to look harmless while being anything but. The trap was set. The players were moving into position, and somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity's polite mask was beginning to crack.